My dear brothers and sisters, yesterday we came across the story of the apostles breaking the law of the Sabbath by doing something that was forbidden to do on the Sabbath day. And today Jesus himself is breaking the law of the Sabbath. My dear brothers and sisters, the way we live our lives and how we live our Christian life is really much dependent on our own image of who God is. We find in the gospel today the Pharisees and the high priest looking for an opportunity to destroy Jesus. They say they are watching to see what he's going to do. And at times we have a kind of that Pharisaic image of God, that God is always watching to see if we're going to do something evil to punish us for that. So we could have an image of God who is a policeman watching to see if we are going to break the law or not. You could find yourself having an image of God like a traffic, these traffic policemen always looking for a fault. They're not there to direct people, but to look for a fault. Once you commit a fault, they are there to tell you this is what you've done and all that. Is that the image of God that we have? And then if we have that image of God, we have to really change that, because that will make us not to be loving people, not to be free people. And God wants us to be loving and free. Today in the gospel we find this kind of situation, and Jesus points out to us, and he points it out to the people of his time. There is something that he puts ahead of the law, and that is love. Saving life, and not the Sabbath. And even when he realizes these people are watching him to see if he's going to make this mistake, he brings this man right in the middle so that they can really see what he's teaching them. What does he teach us? Love. At times you find this, especially, again, I bring an example of confession. Somebody will come to confession and say that, Father, I did not attend Mass on Sunday. I have not gone to Mass on Sunday because my mother was sick at home and I'm the one taking care of her. So what is wrong with that? I'm not saying you should not bring that to confession. I mean, if you doubt anything, it's better to bring it so that you are sure that everything is right. But I don't think that is wrong, to take care of your mother when she's sick. It's true, it's an obligation for every Catholic to attend Mass on Sunday. That is something that the Church has put as a law. We must attend Mass on Sunday. But then if somebody is sick, or if you are rushing for Mass, let's say for instance, you're rushing and coming for Mass, and you meet an incident that needs help, and you're already late for Mass, where do you go to? Do you help that situation? There is a fire accident and you need to make some calls, and they say, no, I can't make these calls because I'm late for Mass. This is that image of God that we could have that can become very disastrous to our spirituality. We can really become religious, but not being spiritual. And being religious is that we just keep the law. This is what the law has said, I must keep by that. Remember the parable of the Good Samaritan? This man lying on the way, beaten and almost dying, and then this Levite passes by. He's going for sacrifice. He cannot do anything. He passes the other side because it's going to even make him unclean to help or touch this person who is oozing blood out of his body. And then another priest comes by and then passes because maybe he's late for Mass. I cannot do that. I have to go for Mass. So that is that image of God that can become Pharisaic. Like we think we begin to behave like we feel that God is like a Pharisee, or like God is like a policeman watching for an opportunity to destroy us, watching for an opportunity to punish us, or to say this person has sinned, is not worthy and all that. No, God is not there to condemn us or to catch us or to arrest us or to find fault in us. In fact, God wants to cleanse us when we become faulty. God wants to forgive us when we have sinned against him. God wants to make us right when we've gone wrong. God wants to bring light in our darkness. That is what He's there for. And that is why in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 22, He further brings this out and He says that the greatest of all commandments, the greatest of all law, is love of God and love of neighbor. The law and the prophets are based on this. St. Paul says, if I can move, I have the faith that can move mountains, and I have no love, it's nothing. So love is greater than the Sabbath, and this is what Jesus wants to show the people. That to keep the law of love is greater than every other thing, because God Himself is love. God can express Himself in love. He expressed Himself in the greatest form through His Son, by His Son offering Himself and dying on the cross. That was the greatest of love. 1 John chapter 4, verse 7 and 8. For God is love. Love is the center of our faith. It is true the law is there to help us, to make us to be faithful, to make us to have a direction. But above all that, love. And so, my dear brothers and sisters, this is what Jesus is teaching us today. He brought this person who was sick. He had a withered hand, and he came. He happens to be on the Sabbath. They were watching. Is he going to do something wrong on the Sabbath? Because the Sabbath says, don't do anything at all. The Lord says, go to Mass on Sunday. It has to be Mass on Sunday and days of obligation. But what happens if somebody needs help on a Sabbath? What happens if somebody is sick and you need to take care of that person on a Sabbath, on a Sunday, and that prevents you from going for Mass? Do you feel that God is going to write that down and say, this is a sinner because he took care of somebody on a Sunday when he was supposed to be there for Mass? In fact, God is in that person you are taking care of. He says, what you do to the least of my brothers and sisters, you do that to me. And those so important to know that we must put priority not on what is written, not what we are supposed to do or what we are not supposed to do, but am I doing this out of love? And who is God for me? Is God the God who would punish? Is God the God who is always trying to find fault, like the Pharisees trying to find fault in Jesus? No. The God that we worship is a God that stands on our behalf as sinners, who always wants to reconcile us to Himself, who wants to change our lives, who wants to give us new opportunities, who does not just want to condemn us and punish us, but the one who embraces us like the prodigal father embracing back the son, not thinking of what he's done, where he has been, what he's done with the money and all that. No, he's saying, my son was lost and now he's found. He was dead, but now alive. That is what God wants from us. And that is what God wants to do with us, to bring us back to Himself, to reconcile us with Himself, so that we are not snatched away from Him by the devil. So, my dear brothers and sisters, let us continue to ask God for the wisdom to know God, and to know God as a God who loves us so much, irrespective of anything. It's a God who loves us unconditionally.